a lot of snow today, and I think that happened. So literally, I think it's still at the beginning.
Okay.
Morning, everyone. AM Lockport. What a wonderful morning. Good morning, Les.
Good morning. Am I running the meeting, Marty?
Yes, sir. Already.
Okay, so are we all ready to start? Okay. Get me focused here. And tell Dave, no, I have a tripod, but I'm sitting upstairs, so apologize for the camera angle. So I'd like to welcome everybody here to our AM Lockport meeting. And basically, it's the call to order. I'd like to start with the pledge to the flag. So if we'd like to do, we'll stand with the pledge to the flag. Marty, you want to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag,
To the flag
United States.
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. All righty. So I'd like to, we have today as I am opening the meeting, and today we have Mary Elizabeth that will be doing her icebreaker today. So that is a pretty exciting thing. And also, we may have a visitor from China who's going to Canada. Do we have any visitors on the website today? Do anybody know that?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, if we do, his name is Marshall Song, if I've got that correctly, and he is from China, but he will be going to school in Canada and wants to join a Canadian Toastmasters club. So that's what we know for there. So number 2, let's give everybody a toast. Marty, would you join us for a toast? Okay.
Okay, I am all set. Thank you, Les.
All right, cool. So toast. All righty. So a couple housekeeping things is yesterday, I believe yesterday, the day after, I had sent my schedule request. I don't know if we talked about this at the last meeting, but I do know it's that time of year where we're getting ready for the first quarter schedule of 2024. So we should be able to email Nancy what our schedules are going to be like. Now, I do have something that Pathways is a little bit different than we used to have the books. In Pathways, if you read ahead, your speeches may build the 2 or 3 speeches. I have one of those in what I'm doing. So I think it's very important that when you're scheduling your stuff to let Nancy know that you have a speech that builds on another speech, so you don't do one in February and then come back into April for part 2. Just something that housekeeping on that. Question is, Marty, do you want me to go over the jobs or would you like to do the jobs? That's my question to you.
I can do that, Les. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. One other question before you get started. If I call on you and you have a job or I cannot find anyone, I may need some help because this morning I got up at 5:15 to come to the meeting and I was not driving this stuff. So if I miss somebody or mess up on the table topics, let me know. I will need a little help and I will pass the meeting to Marty. Thank you.
Thank you, Les. Your camera angle looks great. Perfect. Okay. For those of you that don't know, I chose the theme "Not at This Time" because last week when asked, Marty, what is your theme for next week? I said, I don't have one at this time. And someone chimed back, that sounds like a good theme. I went with it. The meeting theme, not at this time. I'm going to make a second toast this morning. Second toast this morning. Here's to all of you for participating in our meeting this morning at AM Lockport. We're fortunate to have such a wonderful group of Toastmasters who do understand that AM Lockport is worth getting up for. Cheers. Oh, thank you. Hey, Les. In person, If you want to just make a note for table topics, we have Len, Jackie, Kate, Mary, Gerald, Steve, Jill, Mike, Florio, myself, Joe Budnick, Beth Banks.
I think everybody you called off, Marty, has a job.
And Zoom.
So is this
David
basically
Jones
gonna-
is on Zoom for an alternate speaker, and I see him. Good morning, David. David Jones may be a potential candidate, and who else? And Carol Ann. So David Jones and Carol Ann, okay?
And then my third speaker will be somebody that's already done something. Okay,
Very good.
thank you.
You got it. You're welcome. Okay, back to the theme. Okay, here we are, not at this time. By definition, it's a phrase, not at this time. It's a phrase to politely indicate that a request cannot be granted at present. It may be used during Hanukkah or the Advent season. Many of us know that we have different plans and events to attend. And if you're asked to attend a certain function and you can't due to a prior engagement, you can use the phrase, not at this time, perhaps another time. Okay. Okay, housekeeping. 2 bits of housekeeping. The first one is our word master. At 9 o'clock last night, I received an email that Nancy Ferry would not be able to fulfill the role of word master. I do have something to use unless someone else would like to. And someone could keep track of it. Okay. Okay, so the word for the day, you know, when you're looking up words and you find definitions, synonyms, you know, similar words, antonyms, opposites of a word. Well, I also was looking under it and I found idiom. Many of you probably know what an idiom is, but I will refresh your memory. It's a type of phrase or expression that has a meaning that can't be deciphered by defining the individual words. For example, not at this time is an idiom. One of these days, it doesn't, you know, is an idiom. One of these days, it doesn't define what day. So one of these days, what day? Monday, Tuesday. It doesn't define by expression what the day or event is going to be. The other option, so that could be an option. One of these days is an idiom. We could use that as the word of the day. Or you have an option down the line. I looked it up. This was one that I found on the internet. It doesn't state exactly when down the line. It just says down the line, you know, could be next month, next year, down the line. So one of these days or down the line could be a word. And then I just need someone to fill in for Master Grammarian. Beth Banks. Okay, Beth. So Beth, long as we're at that point, would you please describe your duties as Master Grammarian? Beth Banks.
Oh, wow. My. Yeah, I need a big step stool. Good morning, everyone. My job today will be not really introducing the word of the day. Marty did that. That's fine. We'll use idiom, but I will track the usage of idiom. I will try to count ums and ahs and pregnant pauses, use of filler words. I will also try to report on exceptional grammar. That will be my job today. Thank you, Marty.
Thank you. Thank you, Beth. The second and hopefully last bit of housekeeping is adjuster. We don't have adjuster. And I can come back to that if someone would get my attention during the meeting, they could fill in as adjuster. Okay. That said, We'll move on to our quote master, Mike Florio. Mike, you have a quote for us this morning. One, Mike.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, we don't have any guests, but in the interest of time, like I went on the time theme, of course. This should be a piece of cake. So that's my idiom for this morning, a piece of cake. It has been my observation that most people get ahead during the time that others waste. That's Henry Ford who said that. Charles Darwin said, a man or person who dares to waste an hour of time has not discovered the value of life. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. And our timer this morning, Sylvia, would you please describe your duties as timer? Sylvia, welcome.
Welcome, everyone. Yes, today is timer. I'll be timing table topics contestants, our 3 speakers, and our 3 evaluators. Table topics 1 to 2 minutes with a 15-second buffer. Speeches usually is 5 to 7, not unless told differently, with a 30-second buffer, and evaluators 2 to 3 minutes with another 30-second buffer. And I will report during the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Our quiz master, Margot Bittner. Please describe your role.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Last night was the Lions meeting, and I wasn't sure I was going to make this morning because it didn't end till almost 10:30 last night, and I was up off and on until 3 o'clock in the morning taking care of cleanup. But my job today, I wish I'd said not at this time to holding that. My job for today is to listen, and at the end of the meeting, I will come up with about 3 to 5 questions. Don't worry, I'm not going to be here forever answering a question about everything. So I will rely on your listening skills to be able to answer whichever questions I ask. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Margot. Our general evaluator this morning is Anne-Marie Lenhart. Anne-Marie, please describe your role as general evaluator.
Yes, good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be able to evaluate Marty's program today, and I'll be looking for the general organization and the cadence of the meeting, and also the work of the evaluators for the speeches. So I'm looking forward to doing that at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Okay, before I turn the meeting over to our table topics master, Lester Robinson, I would just like to remind everyone they can use the idioms one of these days down the line, or another one that you make note of during table topics. Now I'll turn the meeting over to table topics master, Lester Robinson.
Thank you, Marty. What we're going to do is we're going to have 3 people, 2 people that already know who they're going to be, and the third will be somebody that already has a job. If I get to the third person and you don't want to do it, just please say pass, and I will pull another name off the list. Now, remember to use the word of the day, idiom. So, Dave Jones, are you up to doing a Toastmasters table topic speech? And the topic is my favorite Christmas/holiday movie.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. And good morning, fellow Toastmasters. My response might be an idiom, as I'm in Austin, Texas, and it's 6 o'clock here, and I was up late flying here. But my favorite holiday movie, and my clubs in Charlotte both had this theme, and it's Elf. Elf the movie. And I actually gave a speech that Eric got to hear. He joined our open house at Queen City Tuesday night. We had 58 people there, 27 of which were guests. We were just promoting it on social media, and we had quite the turnout. But my speech on Elf was about the fact that Buddy the Elf lived in a bubble. and he was raised as an elf, assimilated to an elf, and his life was that of an elf. He knew nothing other than being an elf. He had no desire to find out what was outside of the North Pole. And it reflected to me that that's kind of our life, where we all have our own little universe, our comfort zone, and we eventually get a little spark where maybe we have a bad speech or a bad presentation, and we then have to get outside of our comfort zone, and we have to come to something like Toastmaster and find our way. Same as Buddy, who for the first time ever, when he found out that he was a human, he had a desire to leave the North Pole and go find his father, which he did in New York City, and he had many different adventures. And in the end, he wrote a book called The Elf. That's my favorite movie, is The Elf. It's very entertaining and makes me giggle every single time. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Okay, thank you, David. Now, next one will be Carol Ann, and it's my favorite Christmas / holiday event. Carol Ann.
Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters. The event that I really enjoy the most might not be considered an event to some people, but it's the turkey dinner that we have. My husband's favorite is turkey with all the trimmings. And the problem was, when we had everyone over, was that the dinner went a little late, and then the grandkids, especially when they were younger, they were very cranky by the time that we opened presents. However, we've changed things to having them on separate days, the dinner one day, the presents another, and that works out much better. And the idiom I'd like to use is down the road. Recently, my husband and I took a road trip to Florida and through the mountains of Tennessee and all the, or not, excuse me, West Virginia. We took the middle route. We made out fine. When we got to the New York State Thruway, it was late, raining, but not much traffic. A truck decided to pass us and cut in a little too soon and put a very big dent in our front bumper. He didn't even stop. Maybe he didn't even realize he'd hit us. But the main thing is my husband and I were fine. The car was drivable, so we made it home. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Carol Ann. Now I see that Dave Licata has arrived and he has no job. And one thing I love about Dave Licata is he always has the best holiday stories / Christmas. And I'm going to ask David to come up and speak. And does he have any new and exciting plan for the Christmas or the holidays this year? Because David always has a great, exciting story. And one thing that remembers me that always sticks in my head is David always talked about his ice skates. So you can talk about anything you want, even when your ice skates when you were a kid.
Thank you so much, Mr. Table Topics Master. I was probably in a very affluent neighborhood. I might have been more spoiled than anybody because my father had a very close relationship with Chuck Kenny. Chuck Kenny owned Niagara Sporting Goods. And Chuck Kenny would always come over Christmas Eve. And I couldn't sleep until I heard Chuck and Millie show up. Because that means I was gonna get my new football, my new ice skates, my new hockey stick, my new baseball bat, my new mitt, whatever it took. But down the line, we have an adventure going at our house. The oldest boy is engaged. Well, yeah. Oh, you have no idea how long I waited for those applause. He got engaged on Thanksgiving Day, yes, which I didn't see coming. But now we're looking forward to melding these two families. And that's going to be something that's going to be exciting to get to know her side of the family. I've already met the twin sister by accident when I called her. Her name's Michelle, and I said, "Hey, Christina, how you doing?" You know, and typical Dave, look out, a screw up. But I'd like to thank all the women in the club. I was working hard at the Seamus recruiting new members and told them what a great club it was. And as I came down the stairs from the party, every woman in AM Lockport Toastmasters came by and met this guy I was reeling in. Boy, I was pulling it in hard. But that was really helped the catch. You know, I didn't quite get him thrown in the cooler yet. But you ladies certainly helped, and I appreciate that so much. So we got down the line. And idiom and what's the other one? Never mind. Okay. Yes, this is gonna be a one of a kind Christmas. Thank you so much, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Dave. Can we have a timers report, please?
You can. Everyone qualified. David Jones at 1.45. Carol Ann used the buffer at 2:05. And David almost ran out. He was like 3 seconds short of not qualifying. So 212. Sorry, David did qualify.
All right, thank you. Our word masters, Jessica, how did idiom do? Did all three use the word idiom?
Yeah. I'm not sure who Jessica is, but that's okay, Les.
Oh, sorry about that.
Everyone did use the word. I liked some of the idioms there. That was really good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Marty. It's back to you to run the meeting.
Can I say that?
Or do I ask for the vote?
Everyone qualified. Thank you, Les.
All righty, thank you. You can ask for the vote and we'll go from there.
Okay, Mike Florio's collecting the vote. Thank you. Back to the theme. This not at this time shouldn't really be used when should only, I correct myself, should only be used when we honestly have other commitments. It's not in general a good idea to try to skip out of everything, every situation we're faced with. And as you know, I'm sure there've been instances in your lives where you took on a project and it turned out to be one of the greatest things in your life, one of the greatest things you've done. If you think about that during the meeting, I'm sure you can come up with a couple instances. I'd be remiss if I didn't also thank our Zoom master and our audio visual man, Len Thornton, for setting us up this morning. Always doing a great job. Thank you, Len. One of our roll holders. Thank you so much. Now I'll be moving into the speaking portion of the meeting. We have 3 speakers, 3 evaluators. What a wonderful thing. Our first speaker is Gerald Stevens, who'll be evaluated by Jill Roaring. Jill, please share Gerald's objectives. Jill. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Gerald is working, I didn't write down what path, but he's using descriptive language speech. Purpose is to practice writing a speech with an emphasis on adding language to increase interest and impact. I'm sure based on past speeches, Gerald will do quite well with this one. His title, as he makes his way up here, is Festival of Lights. Gerald Stevens, Festival of Lights.
Grab my stuff out of the way. Thank you.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Madam Timer, before you start timing, I do have one more announcement before I start my speech. I am in charge of the Christmas party here on the 21st. I've seen a few emails. We're doing it a little different. I know we always seem to do the holiday / Christmas party different. This time I'm using the roll holders. Everybody's going to be a roll holder. So like we always do, I feel like people are a little confused when it comes to the holiday meetings and they don't know what to do. And everybody brings cookies, and which is great. We love those cookies, especially Joe's. Oh yeah, they're coming. So that's good. But you actually do have assigned duties. So make sure you look for the 21st a little bit ahead. I will tell you in advance, the speakers are Anne Marie Lenhart and David Jones and Joe Budnick. So if you weren't aware, I'm the Toastmaster, and all the other roles you can look for. If you can't make any of the roles, because sometimes the holidays get a little crazy, just let me know in advance so I can try to fulfill those roles. So we can just have like a normal meeting, but it will be all related to the holidays, any holiday you want to talk about, okay? So I wanted to say that, because I already had an email that came my way asking about the holiday party. I want to make sure I'm on the screen first before I start. Okay, this will work. Good morning again, fellow Toastmasters. Festival of Lights. There have been a lot of festival lights in our area. If you remember back in the day, that those were a little older, they had the Niagara Falls Festival lights, and it was a big disaster because that all got lost. So when everything got sold off, I went that as a kid. I thought that was fun. There are other festival lights as well. The one I'm going to talk about today is the Hamburg Festival of Lights. And we first went there with the kids. It was one of the first things we did with the kids. We hadn't quite adopted them yet. So they all came. I don't know if you know how it works with foster care adoption is what we did. You have to be in foster care before you do the full adoption. But in this type of adoption, they are legally freed from their parents. So we adopted 4 kids. Some of you know this already. 3 girls, 1 boy, between the ages of 12 and 6. So they came as they were. And believe you me, they were ragamuffins. They came, their clothes, my daughter Amber literally had patches all over her jeans. And it's just like you might imagine from Annie, the story Annie. And the coats were super big. Their shoes and boots, they were sloshing around in them. They didn't fit at all. They had no idea what their sizes were. So we're like, oh, we can buy you a new coat. What size are you? No idea. What size boots are you? And they would tell us the size, and it was the men's size. So they had no idea what size shoes they were either. But in the end, we did fix that, but it was just a little bit of a culture shock for us. We told them, because we wanted to do some things with them in the beginning, get to know them. So this is one of these things we did. I said, we're going to go on an adventure. And that was one of the themes we did all the time with the kids. Because if you tell them in advance, and we still do this with our grandkids, what do? They go online and they look it up and they know exactly what is going to happen in detail. And that's annoying because there's no surprise. So we still do this with our grandkids, and it still annoys them as much as it annoyed our kids. But we don't care because it's fun. So we're going on an adventure. So what are we going to do? So the Hamburg Festival Lights is a little south of Lockport and Buffalo. and you get a car and you pay one price. And everybody goes around and they look at the lights, but this festival had a little bit more this year. And we kind of knew, but kind of didn't. So before we drove around to look at all the lights, we went inside. They had some buildings there and they had reindeer, actual reindeer. So we went in there and it's like, oh my God, reindeer. I can't believe they exist. Oh, I thought it was just the movies. So, and they had food you could buy, so carrots and whatnot. And they got to feed the reindeer, and they're pretty majestic, big animals, huge antlers, and they just loved it. So I remember that. What else did they had there? Well, they had the world's giant, biggest gargantuan elf ever. He was 6'10". I believe he could have played in the NBA, to be honest. He was big and tall and lean. And I said, wow, this guy's huge. And we got my little 6-year-old daughter, and she's looking up at him, and she was a little scared, I'm not going to lie. This big giant elf. And he had, the green hat with a little pom-pom on the end. He had, the red and green outfit, a felt. He must have made this himself, because I'm sure he could not find this in a store somewhere. So I give him credit if he made it himself. Kudos for that, for stitching and sewing abilities, or paying for it is the only other way I can think of. So that was pretty cool. So he brought him in and took pictures and a little scared, but they still kind of stood next to him. So you imagine this giant guy and how do I fit this in the picture? And we had this little tiny girl and and eventually we got them all in there. My son was like, oh, I don't want to be a part of this at all, as you might imagine. So we forced them in there to hang out with the giant elf. And of course they had hot cocoa, steaming hot cocoa. And you just see the steam coming up. And it was kind of a cold day, actually, a little crisp. I will say there was snow. But it's one of those kind of snows where it's like super crisp and super cold. Today we had some snow here, David Jones, believe it or not. And it was just a little the wet kind of snow, and it's great for making snowmen, and snowballs, but not much else. Terrible for driving. But that being said, we do have quite a good attendance here, so I'm pretty happy about that. In the end, they also had Santa. So sometimes Santa is scary for these kids. Are they going to cry? We don't know what their experience is with Santa. Maybe they hated it. Maybe they didn't. My 12-year-old was like, really, Santa? Gotta go sit with Santa. I'm like, we don't have any pictures of you with Santa, so of course you're going to sit with Santa. So we forced our teenager to take a picture with Santa. I know he might be a creeper. I'm like, no, he's nice. Look at him. He's a nice guy. It's an actual beard. It's not a fake beard, the red outfit, the whole thing that you might imagine. So after we did all the inside stuff, we went out to the outside. So they have this giant loop of lights and multicolored lights flashing, and the nutcrackers marching in the lights, and we had the penguins sliding down slides, and we had kids throwing snowballs in the lights. It was pretty cool. We drive around and take a million pictures. We didn't make them get out into crisp snow. We didn't do that to them, but they did enjoy seeing all the lights. And they're like, wow, that's cool. And they'd arch of lights too. And it was so beautiful. And that was one of our experiences with them. So we really enjoyed that. Well, guess what? It's full circle time. Grandkids, we're going to take them this weekend to the Hamburg Festival of Lights. And hopefully they enjoy it as much as our kids did. So I'm excited to do that with them. And that will be a future story, but not at this time. The idiom for the day. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Gerald. Before Gerald spoke, I meant to say that Gerald was speaking from the Dynamic Leadership Project Pathway using descriptive language. And I just wanted to take about 30 seconds because I don't want to do for one and not the other. Many of you know that Gerald's a traveling family man. He's also a chiropractor by trade, past club president. And it's always great to hear Gerald's stories and his adventures. And we were definitely informed about his latest adventure. And I'm sure we're going to hear more about his Hamburg Fair adventure in the future, the Hamburg Festival of Lights. Our second speaker is Phil Russell. Phil will be evaluated by Steve Smith. Now, Phil will be speaking from the dynamic leadership path, level 4, manage projects successfully. Phil is employed in the investment field. And a little known fact about Phil Russell, and it might be the reason why he has had water in his background on his computer screen. It's because Phil was a lifeguard at Alcott Beach after high school, if any of you knew that. Food for thought, okay? And Phil talked about this project at a previous meeting, and he may even have said, not at this time. However, he was encouraged by our club leadership to move forward with this project. Thus, we have Phil Russell today, and Steve Smith will be evaluating Phil's speech. Steve, please share Phil's objectives. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Before I get started, Marty challenged us not only to use the word idiom today, but to use an idiom. And I'm thinking, well, that's a good idea. So I'll have to get to that at some point in time. So I have the privilege today of evaluating Phil Russell. Privilege and challenge. Phil is, as he said, and he's taking my thunder here, he's doing an L4 elective in dynamic leadership, manage products successfully. Now, the purpose of this project is for the member to practice developing a plan, building a team, and fulfilling the plan with the help of his or her team. Now, this is the second speech, and this is for the member to share some aspect of his or her experience, and his experience, managing a project. The time, Madam Timer, is 5 to 7 minutes. I give you Phil Russell. You want new members?
I understand there's quite a few people at the Y this morning. I know there's 9 on Zoom. I would have been there this morning, but I did not want to practice my driving in the snow for the first time on a quick trip up to Lockport. So because of the miracle of Zoom, I am with you. That's pretty cool. Back in 1982, when I joined, there was only meetings in person, and we want to get that, improve that. At the old City Hall basement, the first meeting took place of Lockport Toastmasters. It took about 1 hour to have 20 people sign up to be charter members. Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. I was one of those people. Now, we need new blood. We want new blood. That's the lifeline of all organizations, especially Toastmasters. New blood. We have new blood. Mary is going to be giving an icebreaker. Back when I joined, every meeting there were icebreakers. It was exciting. Now we have a great icebreaker. One of the things we had, we're in the right place at the right time. Now, Mr. Toastmaster, I'm not going to accept not at this time as an answer. It's going to happen. We need to recruit. Where did Toastmasters originate? At a YMCA in California. I'm not sure of the year nor of the city. Dave Licata might know. He might know and be able to tell everybody. We need to recruit. We're in the right place. Not to go willy-nilly, as Kate would tell me. That's not what we're going to do. We need to recruit, and what we need to do is to focus and target. Now,
YMCA. We're meeting here. That's great. YMCA, a lot of employees. I had the opportunity to speak with Joanna, who's the program director here at the Y, and we were talking about a scholarship or an apprentice program for people that either are members or are employees of the Y. She told me that there's a lot of young people. Some of them are high school kids. They might be under 18, so but they have and they're Lockport High, so they have the DECA program. Some of them are over 18 and they're ambitious. They want to move on. What's Toastmasters all about? Helping them to grow. I don't mean to just, when I talk about an incentive program, I'm talking about somebody that we approach and is interested in belonging, or at least trying it. Come to a meeting as a guest. We've had guests that were, I don't know how long. One lady was, I think, for 2 years before she became a member. Her husband was a member, and that's why she came along. It was enjoyable, and then she became a member. But we want to find some very sincere, focused people like we are that want to progress. And Joanna told me there's a number of those people here at the Y. And she's interested in this program, but we have to get this through our board, number one, and through the YMCA's board. Joanna is enthusiastic. I mentioned to her and told her this story. She liked it. And she thinks we can help her and she can help us. But we have to work together with the board and their board. We're not just going to say, okay, scholarships, come on in and go. No. We need to somehow advertise. That's where I need help with the board. Advertise here at the Y. Yes, advertise what we do. Leadership, communication, professional development, all those things. It's all set for them. All they have to do is come. Now, the reason I set aside 2, some people are afraid to go in by themselves. We know this for a fact. And sometimes they'll say, oh, can I bring a friend along? Sure. We can have as many guests as we want. We want to have guests. We're not going to just say, here, okay, now you can become a member, and here we're going to give you a scholarship. No. You develop the interest. What we do is we'll bring you along. And if you say, hey, I want to join, then we can sponsor them for maybe 6 months. If 2, we could do up to 2. Now, we don't have to just say this is ongoing. We want them to become members. This is just an incentive to get going in Toastmasters. Find out what this Pathways is all about. Find out how we can progress, how they can progress, all this. So we need to recruit. When I was in college, that was the biggest thing. Now, I was in a Division III program, so recruiting was a little tough. But we did get a bunch of good kids just because they found out the program was there because it was our first year. But it's fun. We need people that are at meetings to get out there and show themselves. We need somebody on the board to get with Joanna and work with her to work, because we need somebody there each week, possibly communicating, so we can have new members come in to the YMCA program for an AM Lockport Toastmasters meeting. We're in the right place. This is the right time because these employees are here. They're in this building that you are sitting in right now. They're not at my house because that's where I'm transmitting from, but they're right where you are. And they're willing to let you communicate with them. And that's what our job is in Toastmasters, is communication and leadership. We need new blood. Let's get that blood and focus on the positive and put it into action, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Phil. Our third speaker of the day, Mary Elizabeth Cavanero, speaking from the dynamic leadership path, her icebreaker. What a special day. This is Mary's first speech before the club. This marks what I hope will be many interesting speeches on your promising journey, Mary Elizabeth. And she has held smaller club roles, master, different roles, giving her stage time and confidence. She's on stage this morning and we're all cheering for her. Her evaluator this morning, Eric Schneider. Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. You just put it all in there. You just stole my thunder once again.
Well, her objectives are what?
For
the icebreaker.
Well, her icebreaker this morning is for her to introduce herself to us, to the entire club, and we're looking forward to hearing so much about her. And her time is 4 to 6 minutes, but since this is her first speech, we will allow her to go as much time as she needs, Madam Timer. And Mr. Toastmaster, do you have her speech title?
Yes, thank you, Eric. Please help me welcome Mary Elizabeth Cavanero, All About Mary.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I was born in Seoul, South Korea. I was adopted by my parents when I was 4 months old. One of my best friends in life is Eric. I have known him for a long time. The reason I joined Toastmasters is because Eric kept telling me to join so that I could improve my public speaking skills and make new friends like Kate. My hobbies are horseback riding, baking, with Kate especially, watching football, listening to music, and working out. I work out at the Y 3 times a week. My family consists of my mom, a retired nurse, my dad, who is retired from Harrison's, my stepsister, who lives in Denver, Colorado, with her 2 daughters and son, my sister Emily, who works for American Express, the credit card company. She lives in New York City. We enjoy visiting New York every once in a while. She is a great tour guide. My brother Brian, who lives here in Lockport with his wife and stepdaughter, he is a UPS driver. It's great that he lives around the corner and comes to Sunday dinner when they are able to. My dog Jessie unfortunately died a couple of years ago. We had her for about 12. My grandma lives here in Lockport for the summer and then goes to Florida from October till May. One of my favorite places to visit is Florida. I go there once in November and in February over winter break. One of my uncles lives across the street from my grandma. My parents and I go to the beach a lot. One of my favorite places in Florida this past trip was Disney. A couple of my favorite attractions we visited at Disney this year were the iconic Cinderella Castle, It's a Small World, and the Peter Pan ride. I brought a few things to share with you today. The Korean flag and my airline ticket when I flew here to meet my parents in Seoul, South Korea. I also brought a couple of photographs of my family. One when I was young, and that's another little bit more recent. I included a picture of my dog Jessie too. Lastly is a photograph of a painting of the Cavanero store. It was a family business located on West Main Street in the same building as Chet's Hot Dogs house. It was my grandfather's store and it has been closed for many years. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Way to go, Mary. Thank you, thank you. Thank you to all our speakers this morning. Hey, could you do me a favor and bring that brown bag up? Thank you so much. I didn't mention it, but I will now. I don't know if you noticed, there was a recurring theme with the speakers this morning of the pathway. They all spoke from the dynamic leadership path. What is that? What a coincidence. All three of them. So wonderful. Sylvia, may we please have a timer's report?
You may. All three contestants qualified. Gerald Stevens at 6.58. Phil Russell at 7.12. And Mary at 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. And at this time, there's voting online, and Mike Florio will be picking up the ballots here in person. As I mentioned towards the beginning of the meeting, sometimes we take on projects and tasks, and they turn out to be one of our greatest life experiences. I've had a few instances in my life where I said yes, and I took up a challenge, and it turned out to be some of the greatest life experiences. And I'll just going to share briefly before our evaluators come up. Some of you know that in the 80s and 90s, I was quite involved with the Lockport canoe races, and I participated my first time in 1985, and I participated with Greg Denzel. The name might be familiar. His father was Dr. Dave Denzel, who's now deceased, but he was a surgeon, a bone specialist here in Lockport. And Greg was one of my greatest friends. And Greg's brother, Mike, was racing with Greg in the early 80s. And then one year Mike couldn't make it. So Greg asked me, and we practiced a few times. And then I was practicing on my own because Greg lived and went to school at RIT. And we came in second place. You know, we were big fish in a small pond, you could say. The competition wasn't real stiff, but nevertheless, we came in second place in the standard racing class. And then I had a couple other partners over the years, and we stuck with it, and we kept coming in second place. Well, one year we got advice from some top-notch racers in Rochester, and we worked on different speed work and strength and endurance. And granted, we're no Arnold Schwarzeneggers, but we found out what it took, and we did it. And we gained strength, and we gained endurance, and we gained speed. And then in the 1990 race, my friend Barry Cornelius and I took up a challenge, and we didn't say not at this time. We said, let's try to do the race, which starts at West Canal Park in Pendleton. West is west, that way, right? West, that way. And went 14 miles on the canal east, and it finished at Wide Waters in Lockport. And we had to portage our canoe down the hill at the Lockport Locks. Well, that year, as I said, our goal was to finish in under 2 hours. Under 2 hours, we did. We knocked 47 seconds off our 2-hour time, and we earned this award. This is by Lockport Canoe Race first place award. My friend, partner at the time, Barry Cornelius, we did the race in 1 hour, 59 minutes and 13 seconds. So that was one of my wonderful experiences when I said yes instead of no, not at this time. And real quick, for the sake of time, in 2017, I finished my journey in Toastmasters in the legacy system, which was the old educational program in Toastmasters. And Mary Elizabeth, now it's called Pathways, and the old one is called Legacy. So we changed the system a little. And with the help of a lot of AM Lockport members, I earned my DTM in 2017. And that was another instance where I didn't say no, not at this time. It took me over 17 years actually, because I started in 1998. I was recruited by Dave Licata. I left when my son was born and I came back and I picked up where I left off basically. And last but not least, I'm promoting the contests that we have, the speaking contest. In 2018, I competed in the Division A District 65 Tall Tale Speech Contest. And I don't know if any of you remember, I competed at club level and you graciously voted me as first place. And I went into the area and I won the area 12 contest. And my speech was about, some of you may remember, the skunk. You remember the skunk story about the skunk that got stuck in my car and it generated power in my car with the skunk smell? Anyway, it was a tall tale. I took some advice from a lot of members and I really made it a tall tale. Those are three things I just wanted to share. There are instances in my life where I didn't say no, not at this time, and I just went for it, and it was a great time and a great journey. So now that we have the timers report and the voting, I would like to call up our first evaluator, evaluating Gerald Stevens' speech, Jill Roaring. Help me welcome Jill. Thank you, Jill.
Good morning, fellow. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Dr. Gerald. Festival of Lights. Just as an aside, when he said that the Niagara Falls one was a disaster, it wasn't the first several years. I worked up there in the Rainbow Center, and it brought in a ton of business. And then another typical day in the falls, yes. Okay, back to Gerald's speech. It was very interesting. It was fun to hear about your kids. I mean, I knew they were adopted, but just to hear the circumstances of the adoption was interesting. But there are several things that I saw that even as a DTM, you had problems or disconnects with. Your eye contact. There was times you were staring at the camera. And it was at the detriment to us here in the room. I'm not sure about anybody else, but I felt like, where is he? He's stuck in the camera. But there was other times he was scanning the audience, but there wasn't a dual, the camera and the audience here. You were either one or the other. Your time management seemed a little bit off. It seemed like you were rushing the end of the speech. You got to where we're going out to see the lights and it was gone. We were done. But your speech had a fair amount of colorful language, as you always do. It was fun to listen to. Your vocal variety was excellent. You accented it with laughing, which got us hopefully laughing. And that's, I mean, how much more can you ask a DTM to improve? So there we go. Hopefully, we're going to hear the rest of the story from him. And there's my idiom.
Thank you, Jill. Our next evaluator, evaluating Phil Russell's speech, is Steve Smith. Please help me welcome Steve.
Thank you, Marty. I have the daunting task of evaluating Phil. Well, he gets on Zoom. There he is, perfectly centered, right up and down, side to side, with his Bills hat and his Yoda Christmas sweater. Well, that I think was 100% delivered. That got your attention. What am I looking at? But then he got into his subject, and he was very serious about that. He explained what his vision was. He gave a little history of our club and Toastmasters in general and it was not wasted on him. The fact that the original Toastmasters met in a YMCA, and here we are in a YMCA. He considered that an omen, actually, and a call to action. And that's basically what his project is, to recruit new members. Of course, when he said we need new blood, that kind of got my attention. He spelled out the steps in his vision of how to go about recruiting new members, particularly employees of this establishment. How to advertise, how to tout the benefits of the Toastmasters. And he explained his vision of what he could see happening. He had good hand gestures. I love the way he used his voice. He could be very loud and bombastic, as Phil can, but he slowed down, got softer when he was trying to make a point. Very effective. He finished up with a call to action, charging every one of us with going out and helping to recruit new members, because that is the future of our organization. Now for the hard part of this, trying to find something he can improve on. That's tough for someone as skilled as Phil. One thing that hit me, if he'd have had some props, maybe some pictures of early meetings, this is what it was. Here's some props of what we look like now. Just something to look at other than Phil. But sorry, Phil. I thought it was very well presented, very well thought out, and very much to make us think about what we're doing. And I thank you for bringing it to us today. Thank you, Phil. Yep.
Thank you, Steve. Our third evaluator, evaluating Mary Elizabeth Cavanero's speech, is Eric Schneider. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you very much, Marty, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Mary. Mary did a beautifully well-prepared icebreaker this morning, and I must say, I was so intrigued by how she presented her speech this morning. Now, Mary, what I'm going to do is a sandwich approach of this evaluation. So here is how I have in my findings this morning on your speech. Mary, you really excelled at your vocal variety. You really had us drawn into your speech. You brought us into your world, getting to know you better. And all the years I have known you, you really brought me more into your life. You felt very comfortable standing at the lectern, very calm, very poised, and you really knocked it out of the park. And while also you had props, which is also very effective when you are given a speech. You had photos, you had really great stuff that you brought to the meeting. I also know that you did horseback riding, and when I heard that you did horseback riding, my back was screaming because I probably would not have been able to ride a horse, not in my life. But that's great that you do some extracurricular activities, and also baking like we did. We made a lot of cookies over the weekend, and also Mary, Mom and Dad says thank you for the cookies. Now, Mary, what you may want to work on for future speeches is maybe we slow down just a little bit. And I have learned this a little bit myself. And like, for example, when you end a sentence, maybe a 2-second pause, catch a breath,
let us all process the information, and then continue with your speech. And for my final piece of the end bun of the evaluator sandwich is continue practicing. We can also work on you moving away from the lectern and to get more body gestures. You had good gestures, but we can see more body gestures to, I put, wow the audience. But Mary, great job on your first speech. I am definitely looking forward to many more speeches that you are going to bring to us. And that's all I have. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Eric. May we please have a timer's report, Sylvia, for our evaluators.
You may. Jill at 2.35. Steve right behind her at 2.33. And Eric, 2.54. Everyone qualified.
Okay.
I say at work a lot to people when we're working on things. We'll deal with this one day next week. Sometimes that day doesn't come, but we deal with it one day next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Well, at this point in time, we'll have our voting for the evaluators. Did anyone come up with a jest? Would anyone like to share a jest or a joke? Anyone? Or are we just going to bypass that for now? Okay. Okay, we're going to bypass that for now. Fellow Toastmasters, my message to you this morning is to focus on your goals and your paths in life. And not necessarily say not at this time, because you never know when you choose to focus on something where it'll take you. And for me, I'm happy and pleased. I have a lot of fond memories from number one, the Lockport canoe race, number two, earning my DTM, and last but not least, competing in the area tall tales contest. At this point in time, I'm going to introduce Anne-Marie Lenhart, who will evaluate the Toastmasters of the day and the evaluators, and then I will give the general reports after that. Anne-Marie, welcome.
Good morning once again. Marty, you did an exceptional job. Really, really enjoyable meeting. I know you were very organized. You sent out an email a week in advance. And then I was surprised last night when I tuned in, you sent another email regarding the positions to which you did fill. So that was really great. I can't believe you've been a DTM since 2017. Wow. Excellent, excellent job. The cadence was really good. You were very self-confident. All the introductions were very smooth. You know, really excellent job. Not at this time. I think a good theme for this Christmas season, and personally, not at this time, really hung over me, because people ask me to do things and I say, what? You want me to do what? When? Are you kidding me? Frazzled, overwhelmed, demanding time where every single minute is taken. And when you say we should step forward and do something, I know I'm probably missing a lot of challenges, but I have to be able to take my breath and de-stress. So the evaluators did an excellent job. The sandwich approach, positives as well as negatives. And the speakers were really great. Jill, you did a great job with Gerald. Gerald always brings so much energy into his speeches. He has a very powerful voice. Sense of humor is remarkable. And it was interesting to hear about his 4 children. That always amazed me, that someone could adopt 4 children at one time, ages 6 through 12. That's really amazing. Being on Zoom, I really didn't understand your feedback about him just focusing on the camera. I guess because I'm in Zoom, I found that he really spoke directly to me And I really didn't see that as a deficit. Steve, you did a great job with Phil when he appeared. I was amazed with the sweater and the hat, and what a graphic, image. I can't believe he's been a Toastmaster since 1982, which is actually the year that my first son was born. 41 years, just really remarkable amount of time. I like the fact that you talked about how competent he was and also how very organized, and the call to action that you pointed out, I think is very important because that really sums up the speech and gives you sort of a powerful ending to it. Eric, a great job on Mary. Mary, congratulations. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength to get up there the first time. I remember when I did it years ago, and you did a great job, very organized, got to know a little bit about you, from the horseback riding to all of the different relatives that you mentioned. Eric gave you some good feedback as far as moving out from the lectern. I would have added eye contact. You kept looking down, and I kept wanting to see your eyes and wanting to have more of a personal connection with you. So maybe that's something you can work on. It's hard when you have the material in front of you and you have to read it, it's hard to do that, but I think that might be a goal for you in the future. So overall, a wonderful meeting, very enjoyable. And Marty, great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Thank you very much, Anne Marie. Moving on to our other reports, Quizmaster Margot Bittner. Give us the quiz, teacher.
Thank you very much, Marty. I heard a lot of great idioms this morning, but my first question for you is, what job should most of you be very happy that Margot did not have today?
You're Marion.
Thank you. David Jones's favorite movie?
No.
Where did Gerald visit for the Festival of Lights?
Amber.
And my final question for today, because we're going on to our anniversary, where was the first Toastmasters meeting according to Phil Russell?
Yeah,
California.
Where was the first AM Lockport meeting?
Full City Hall in the basement.
Thank you very much, Les. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you, Margot. And our Wagmaster report, Word Master Grammarian Beth Banks. Thank you, Beth.
We did pretty well with idioms and the use of idioms. So it was one of those challenging, okay, they used the word idiom. Did they really use an idiom? But I think I caught Mike Florio, David Jones, Carol Ann, Dave Licata, Gerald, Steve, Jill, Sylvia, got quite a few uses of idioms or the words. I really felt our grammar today was pretty good. Yes, I caught some Anne Marie, Eric, and I caught some ands like I just used, Carol Ann. Phil Russell, yours is now. But all in all, it was a pretty good meeting. I'm sure Margot caught a lot more, but it wasn't her job today. Thanks, Margot. There were some words or phrases that I really liked. The cadence of the meeting. I liked melding families, thrown in the cooler, ragamuffins. Kudos to that. Taking my thunder or stealing my thunder was used twice. Steve, I like tout the benefits, and I like the word bombastic. That's a good word, very good word. Bill Russell, new blood. Oh, did that make an impression with all of us? And I like willy-nilly. It's just cute. This is the right time. Think about that. Mary, I liked that you used the word iconic. Some people do not use that correctly. You did. Good job. And I would say, Marty, took up the challenge is what we all need to do, is take up the challenge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Beth.
Hey, Marty, we have a guest on Zoom.
Someone say something?
Yeah, it's Eric. There is a guest on Zoom. Marshall is on Zoom. So we'd like to welcome Marshall.
We have a guest. I'd like to hear from the guest. Good morning.
Oh, he just went offline,
Okay.
but he was just on.
Okay. You may come back.
Yeah, he may come back.
While we're waiting for him to come back, and then we can break back to him. We have some awards. Best table topics goes to, drum roll, David Jones. Best evaluator, Eric Schneider. And best speaker of the day, drum roll, Mary Elizabeth Cavanero. Thank you, Lynn. We have a ribbon for her for best speaker, and also a ribbon for first timer. Congratulations. Excellent job. And we picked a winner for the, pardon? Yes, evaluator. Yep, thank you. Evaluator, and then you can pick out the winner for the 50-50 split club. And the last three numbers are, what do we have? 940. 940. Mary, see what my number is on the table. Actually, here, I have one here. 940. I'm going to donate it back to the club. Thank you, Len. Back to the club. Just real quick, what's interesting with the Rhetorical Roar Club that I belong to are, some of you know Pam Gorman. At one time, she was a VP of Ed. And for Christmas one year, she sent a package to everyone. And in the package were best table topics, best evaluator, and best speaker ribbons. And what we did especially during COVID, she would pass the winners' ribbons through the camera, and then like I did for David Jones when I started. And then if David had a ribbon, you would see David taking the ribbon. So it was sort of cool, like passing through. It was really, really neat at the time. Anyway, I'm going to turn control of the meeting over to Les Robinson to wrap the meeting up. Any announcements? Anything else, Les, you want to inform us about? Les, thank you very much.
Hey,
to all our
good.
participants as well.
Thank you. Do we have any old business that anybody would like to bring up and talk about? That's number one. I heard something in the background.
Sure.
Do we have any new business?
Bringing that up. Oh, can you hear me? Sorry. I shouldn't say sorry. Just a few save the dates, not technically old business, but kind of. The officer trainings will be January 13th, Saturday, or Tuesday, January 16th. All current officers or anybody who would like to be an officer can also take those Zoom trainings. But we have also set a date for our area contest. So to work forward and prepare, the area 11, which we are, is combining again with area 13 in person only at Amherst Library. And I'll be running that with the area 13 director. I'll be the chief judge. So I need lots of recruits. And that will be Saturday, February 3rd. Saturday, February 3rd at 10 a.m. at the Amherst Library in Gettsville. There's a few chapters. So anyway, I will, it's on Audubon. It's the James John Audubon branch, right near, if you ever got a speeding ticket, like one time, like 15, everybody in Amherst gets speeding tickets. It's in that town court and plaza with the police station is the library there. So, and then Gerald is up next. He has a question. Our club contest date has not been selected, but it should be in the month of January. We could select it now, and I would say probably the 2nd or 3rd January Thursday would be ideal to give us time to prepare for that, and then prepared for 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later for the area contest. And David, question. Okay, let's go with the 3rd Thursday. I think it's the 18th. If the 16th is the training on Tuesday, that's the 18th. Let's declare it now that January 18th is our club contest, and that will be hybrid, so we can do it. And it is international and evaluations. So I need a target speaker if you're interested in speaking, and then evaluator contestants and the international contest. But I'll talk more about that next week because I have to get to work. So Mary and I have to go, and we'll catch up next week, or text me if you have questions or call me. All righty. And I'll hand it back to Les. Thank you, Les, for being officer of the day.
Hey, Kate. Kate, can you hear me?
Yes, what's up?
I'm going to be on the 13th and 16th. I will not be able to make the officer training because I'm at work training those days. So I will be incapacitated in Florida. So I will not be able to make either event.
Okay, they might do a makeup and I will let you know, because you can also attend any other district officer training anywhere on Zoom and it qualifies for us. So we have some wiggle room on that, but we can talk about that later. So back to you.
All right, I'm going to bring a general question up to everybody. I do have a topic I would like to do, but I want to know who knows about Doctor Who. I don't want to bring something up and hear crickets in the room.
Yes, you should do it. You had a few nods. There's a few yeses here. Yes, yes. Joe Budnick said yes.
I know Joe will be the, besides Joe, does the group kind of want to talk about Doctor Who, or they want to do more of a holiday festive setting for a topic?
Doctor Who. We'll do holidays the following week.
Okay. Our next question. How many people in here have Disney Plus?
How many people? Raise your hands in the room if you have Disney Plus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. 6 out of 13, I think. 6 out of 13.
All right. I will then make an advice that if you have Disney Plus, watch the new 60th anniversary special, or if you have Pluto TV, to watch some of the old Doctor Who adventures. Our next week topic will be Doctor Who, past, present, future, and under Disney Plus season 1 for 2023. Okay.
Oh, Les, I have something I have here written down. Our speakers for next week is Sylvia Mark Campos and Thomas Hellwine. Alternate speaker is Jackie Kenny.
Good. I will do what we do is go on the schedule and see who's ready to go, and we will go from there. I would just basically that'll be about it. And I think Marty has his raising his hand.
Yes, thank you. I spoke with Thomas Heldwine and he said he most likely will not be available till the new year due to work. Was he a speaker or alternate next week?
Speaker.
Okay, so Jackie should probably plan to speak because of that. All right, thank you.